Welcome back to What's the 411 News, where we bring you news observation, interpretation, and news commentary from an FBA and BGR perspective. Let's get it. Welcome back, everybody, to What's the 411 News. And here we have today, it's looking like a black family in Utah will be getting paid $2 million from a Utah school district. All right. And so with that being said, we're going to get right into this story. All right. Utah school district pays $2 million to family of bullied black girl who died by suicide. The family of Izzy Tichenor, the 10-year-old black girl whose death by suicide after intense racist bullying at her Utah elementary spurred national outcry, will get $2 million in one of the largest civil rights settlements the state has ever seen. All right. The agreement with Davis School District was announced Tuesday by email. It brings to an end the high-profile claims that the family said it intended to file in a lawsuit last year, which was following Izzy's death in November 2021. All right, so Izzy's death occurred in 2021 in November. In 2022, the family was intended for filing a lawsuit. And then it looks like this year they'll be getting the $2 million. All right. Before I go on, let me say this to all the to any black parents, whether it's a single parent home or both parents. It's time to start letting your children know, boys and girls, how valuable they are, how beautiful they are. Keep on telling them that so that they don't get to the frame of mind to the point where other kids can start telling them things and it just breaks down their self-esteem to the point that they want to hurt themselves. All right. You got to let your kids know to that degree how valuable they are, how beautiful they are, because there are some kids who believe, black kids who believe because they're so dark that they're ugly. There's still kids to this day that still think that. I recall probably now, might have been 7 to 10 years ago, maybe. I came in contact with a little girl from the profession that I retired from. And, while I was still working in that profession, this girl she was about, at that time, she probably was about 10, 11 years old. And she really thought she was ugly. People was on Facebook, at all places, was telling her how ugly she was. And if you would have seen this little girl, this dark-skinned girl, you would see how beautiful she was, but she didn't think she was. And I mean, seriously, I'm not exaggerating at all. All right? No exaggeration at all. This girl was a beautiful, dark-skinned chocolate girl. And first I talked to her mom before she came out. Then I had her, I had the mom come out. Had the mom tell the girl to come out so I could talk to her. And, she told me what happened. She was explaining, how she was, I guess you could say, was getting bullied by Facebook. And I had to let her know, like, first of all, don't get bent out of shape or for somebody on social media saying something. And then right then and there, I kind of was looking at her mom a little bit for a second with a little bit disgust, but I didn't say nothing to her mom. I just went on to tell her how beautiful she was and how pretty she was, and don't let anybody let her feel that way that she wasn't. All right. I added some more things to it to let her know, and then set her back in to go inside the house. And I talked to her mom. I told her like, hey, you need to start telling her that. She just got looked at me quiet. I said, cause that's a beautiful girl. And for people, and what it was, she really thought her skin made her ugly. She thought her dark skin made her ugly. And I had to let her know, like, I'm about the same complexion as you. And you are not ugly because of your skin color. And it's unfortunate that these situations still continue to go on to this day. So I just wanted to add that in there before we go on, man. Start letting your kids know how pretty they are, how beautiful they are, how smart they are, your black children, and develop them up mentally so when people start saying stuff, they don't it doesn't break them. As a matter of fact, start teaching them certain jokes, certain jokes to say so they can crack on these people back. All right. But anyway, let's move on, man. Let me get back into this. All right. So, in a joint statement with the family, the district said the loss of Isabella Tichenor, who was affectionately called Izzy by those closest to her and who still dreamed up being a Disney character when she grew up, will always impact our community and school. Moving forward, the statement continued. Davis School District is committed to making schools a safe and welcoming environment for all. In the news conference, Brittany Tichenor Cox, which is Izzy's mom, we're just going to refer to her as Brittany, said while she continues to grieve, the resolution was a long time coming. Just because you win some money, it doesn't compare to the child not being there, she added. Of course not. The payout and the joint statement are part of a mutual agreement, Davis School District said. Tyler Ayers, the attorney for Izzy's family, added that the district has also agreed to put a statue of Izzy inside the library of the elementary school she attended. It's our hope that the next African American student in this school and in the state will see someone who looks like them being celebrated in this statue of Izzy. The only issue I got, the problem I got with that is that she harmed herself, and this is like it almost to me has an eerily feel like you celebrating someone being bullied and then harming themselves. So it seems like this school district needs to come up with a little bit more than just putting up a statue. They really need to harp and clamor down, if you will, clamp down on white supremacy and racism. Is what they really need to do, and get into telling some real history to these kids so these black kids can really know how powerful they are. But that is part of the problem. And what we see in with Florida, they don't want to tell accurate and truthful history. They want to skew and twist things around to further mess up these kids' heads. So, to the Utah School District or Davis School District, y'all need to do way more than put up a statue, because that just feels like it's like a slap in that child's face after being deceased. All right. That's what it feels like. That's what it sounds like. All right. So he said while he initially hoped the settlement amount would be larger, this is their attorney, Izzy's family attorney, be larger to send a bigger message. The family was asking for 14 million. It was the right number for right now that will allow them to move forward without more trauma. This marks the second settlement involving a racism case that Davis School District has paid for this year. So the Davis School District seems to have a little history of racism, and they apparently didn't get it right the first time. So they should have gave up 14 million the first time. All right, so this marks a settlement involving a racism case that Davis School District has paid for this year. In the same email, the district also said it would pay $200,000 to the families of 3 students who also experienced discrimination and filed suit in March 2022. As a public school district, the money for those settlements ultimately comes from taxpayer funds. All right. Y'all hear me clearly. As a public school district, the money for those settlements ultimately comes from taxpayer funds. It should come from somewhere else, since the Davis School District can't seem to get their act together. Izzy's death brought additional attention to the district, with her death coming just weeks after the U.S. Department of Justice had issued a scathing report about the Northern Utah School District's serious mishandling of reports of racism. Investigators found that district administrators had intentionally ignored widespread racial harassment in its predominantly white schools for years. Imagine that. Failing to respond to hundreds of reports from Black students after they had been called slaves, nigger, and heard threats that they would be lynched. Some employees reported participated in the discrimination. So some of the employees participated in the discrimination. Their money should have been part of those millions as well. Just 1% of the district's 73,000 students are Black. After her daughter's death, Brittany became an advocate for Izzy and against the racism she said she witnessed firsthand in the school district. Brittany spoke reportedly about how she had gone to Davis administrators several times before Izzy's suicide to try to address the bullying she said Izzy had faced from both classmates and her teacher in the 5th grade at Foxborough Elementary. In tears, she recounted several times the abuse she said Izzy endured over the color of her skin and for being autistic. But each time, Brittany said she was ignored. Even though my baby is gone, I'm going to make sure I stand for Izzy, she said days after her daughter died on November 6, 2021. She repeated on Tuesday, I still want to be able to help a lot of kids out there. I'm going to continue to spread her name. Leah Hoxton, the Salt Lake Tribune. Brittany, joined by her sister, was a picture put up. Jasmine Rhodes is Brittany's sister. Speaks out about her daughter, Izzy Titchener. Her continued pushing kept the issue in the light and helped push Davis School District to reform in the 2 years since. Again, before I go on, I'm thinking about what it was saying, the issues that the mom had, Brittany, Izzy's mom, had with trying to report this. And it seems to go back to with another brother on another channel, Phil Scott, mentioned about having some Black male figures with you when these things go off, whether it's an uncle, a cousin, a brother, a granddad, the child's father. Even if Brittany was working, maybe she had a co-worker that would have helped out, a neighbor that would have, came and pitched in when she went to try to report this. And maybe things would have been a little bit different. That's just something for you ladies to think about, all right? You Black ladies to think about. when you are, if you happen to have children and it's just you might want to look at these particular resources, whether it's an uncle, the child's uncle, your brother, your male cousin, a male grandfather, a cool friend that you might have, a male friend, a co-worker that you cool with. You might want to consider asking them, to help you out in certain situations that where something like this, because most of the school was white and some of the teachers were even involved in the discrimination. They would see the male, and the male would have went off, things probably would have settled down a lot quicker and would have stopped a lot faster. I have a story on that, but I'm not going to get into that today. Maybe another time. All right. Let me see where we're at here. That included the district commissioning an independent investigation into the harassment Izzy faced. The findings of that investigation, released a few months later in April 2022, confirmed Brittany's account and concluded that staff had joined in on the mistreatment of Izzy. And I wonder if the teachers ever went to jail for that. A teacher told Izzy in front of her classmates that she smelled and needed to take a shower, the investigation found. And when that teacher was later interviewed by investigators, she claimed Izzy would not have understood the insult because of her educational delays. So, I'm trying to avoid from like really going off and cussing, because YouTube is soft like that when it comes to making videos like that. They really have a pin up the crack of their behinds when it comes to black males saying things and black people, black Americans in general, standing up. But this damn teacher had the nerve to talk about, after she made the comment saying she smelled and needed a shower, she just felt that Izzy wouldn't have understood the insult because of her quote unquote educational delays. I should hope this school district fired her and blackballed her from being able to work in any school. I hope that's what they did. All right. Another educator, I'm trying to compose myself because, like I said, it's some stuff I could really bang on real hard. But again, we on YouTube, and certain people who run YouTube seem to be kind of soft. Neil Mahan, what's up, Neil Mahan? The current CEO to YouTube. You need to make some changes, homie. But let me get back. Another educator openly used, quote, offensive gestures to refer to Izzy after her death. The same educator had been disciplined months earlier for participating in a racist conversation with other teachers. The same damn teacher. The report concluded that the school had brushed off at least one report of abuse and not investigated properly. Foxborough failed to conduct the investigation that Izzy was due and deserved, the report stated. The report also noted several times when Izzy was bullied by classmates, taunted for her disability, called racist names, and told she stunk because of her skin color, echoing the teacher's comments that the investigators say likely prompted the treatment of her, from her peers. Izzy was also threatened with a gun. But those encounters were not documented until after her death. In the aftermath of her suicide, and as required by the DOJ, the district has worked to address some of the imagine that, some, and not all the damn addressing, but has worked to address some of the systemic racism within its schools. It hired Jackie Thompson, a veteran educator and prominent civil rights activist. I don't know who this Jackie Thompson is. I will do some further research on my own and make sure she ain't a coon. But for right now, I'm not going to say she's a coon or not because I don't know who she is. All we know, according to this, is she was hired and she's a veteran educator and prominent civil rights activist. That bothers me too, though, with the civil rights activists, because these civil rights folks have a mentality that's not been proven to be really for black people. And so I'm real skeptical about this Jackie Thompson person to oversee reform and offer more training. And as far as training goes, how do you train somebody that already has something in them that's not going to get out of them? You can't train a suspected white supremacist. All right. It's just impossible to train them. So what are you going to train them to do? Anyway, we're going to continue. She has created a streamlined form for complaints and hired liaisons to go to each school to listen for and investigate concerns. Izzy's suicide also spurred a bill from the Utah legislature on tracking bullying statewide. My question is, before we go on, has that bill been passed yet? Is it a law now? Is it something that's going to happen from now on? I continue. Some parents and activists have said it has not been enough, though, and is not changing the deep-seated culture in an area that is mostly white and largely Latter-day Saints. All right, again, I'm going to repeat that. Some parents and activists have said it has not been enough, though, and is not changing the deep-seated culture in an area that is mostly white and largely Latter-day Saints. The district acknowledged in its statement Tuesday that there is still work to be done. The district is continually assessing and expanding its processes and efforts to better support every student who attends its schools, it added. The district declined to comment outside of the statement. They concluded by saying any form of racism, bigotry, discrimination, or harassment within our schools is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Yeah, that's the same script they all say when they get busted. So when this happens again and somewhere else, this is pretty much what the script is going to be. They're going to say that and not really mean it. It's just a script. All the schools are on code to use this similar script. They might change a few ways they say it, but pretty much they're going to say within the realms of any form of racism, bigotry, discrimination, or harassment within our schools is unacceptable and will not be tolerated, although they won't mean it. I continue on. Ayers, the attorney for Izzy's family, said Tuesday that he'll be watching to make sure the district follows the requirements set out by the DOJ to address racism in its schools. Hopefully you do that. Hopefully you keep an eye out on them, Ayers. Ray Duckworth, chairperson for the Black Lives Matter chapter in Utah. And we all know about Black Lives Matter and their records. So I'm skeptical about Ray Duckworth. But he's the chairperson for the Black Lives Matter chapter in Utah, also spoke at the news conference and urged all schools in the state to bolster mental health resources and to teach kids proper Black history. Those lessons, she hopes, I guess it's Ray Duckworth, it's a she, will get at the root of the discrimination that's happening. She repeated, don't mess with our kids. Now, Mrs. Duckworth, if this is a female who said this from the Black Lives Matter, I already mentioned that, yeah, they need to start putting some Black history because it will also, if they teach the correct Black history and tell everything, not just the parts where the slaves were beat down and the male slave masters had sex with the male slave, the Black male slaves, the white slave masters, and then cutting open Black women's stomachs and pulling babies out and feeding some to alligators on top of hanging Black males in order to buck break them and to, quote, teach them a lesson. Besides doing that, also explain how 85%, probably to this day, even today, we're still using inventions that were created from Black people who patents were stolen from them. So white slave masters were claiming the inventions. Also show and teach the black history how so many black people fought and was fighting in slave revolts all through the US, different states and cities, how black people were fighting in slave revolts, how black people were fighting and jumping on folks when they jumped on one of their own, similar to what happened recently in Montgomery. Those situations occurred way back then as well. So if the school district is going to teach all of that, teach it all so these black kids will know how powerful they really are as well. And not just to make them feel like, oh, you got beat up and you got hung and y'all didn't do nothing. Teach all of it. But that's not going to get to the root of the discrimination, Ray Duckworth. So you might need to sit down and do some more thinking again about that particular statement. Yes, teaching a proper black history will start the process of letting these black children know, like, wow, we did that. Wow, we really built this. We really built the United States. We had so much powerful minds that we came up with inventions. A lot of times without drawing up the actual the sketches to these inventions, you just had it in your head. We actually stood up for ourselves. And when people messed with us, we fought them back. When we didn't want to be tied up and bound as slaves, we fought. We even killed some of these slave masters. What? Yeah, tell her all of that. And then maybe, hopefully, that's the start of these kids like knowing. Now, all the other races of kids might feel bad, but hey, the truth is the truth, right? As simple as that. As simple as that. So you guys let me know what you think. Condolences go out to Brittany and the family. It's sad that a child had to commit suicide. I can't even find a more soothing word to say to lessen the blow. But sometimes it might be need to say it as harsh and as rough so it can kind of pierce the bodies and the minds of certain folks. Like she said, $2 million is not going to bring a child back. And the school district should have gave her 14 million instead. Being that they had these issues going on before. And then the situation with the Latter-day Saints, they're largely white people and Latter-day Saints. So the people who are Latter-day Saints, this is how y'all really get down, huh? This is how y'all really get down, huh? Very interesting. So you ladies and gents, let me know in the comments what you think about this particular report. Again, condolences go out to the family of Izzy. And black women, if you're single and you get in these situations where in certain situations you're going to have to talk to certain people, you might want to consider bringing a black male with you. Find somebody if family members don't want to come in, a male figure doesn't want to come in and help. Find a friend, find a neighbor that you might feel is cool, and one that's probably also into this type of thing, if you will, about standing up for black folks, specifically black Americans, but for black children specifically. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all, man. Let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. Share this video. Share this story with others. And it's time to come up with our own ideas to our own options to make these type of things, stop these things from continuing. It is time. Let's not go another year, 2024, 2025. It's a wrap. No more of this is going to happen. All right. With that being said, this is What's the 411 News. And we out of here. Peace. Welcome back to What's the 411 News, where we bring you news observation, interpretation, and news commentary from an FBA and BGR perspective. Let's get it.